This is my favorite dua for a reason. One, I'm married and I do have children and a spouse. But two, all of us have to appreciate the power of this dua because of the crisis of the world today. The world's fundamental institution of family is under attack. Most of the people here, even Muslims, are not immune from this problem. In many of our homes, the storm that I said, when you find coolness of the eyes, you find refuge from the storm. The storm is not outside the house. The storm is inside the house. And you have to get away from home to get away from the yelling and the screaming and the name calling and the insults and the depression and the sadness and the friction between husband and wife and parent and children. Our homes are broken. Brother is not talking to brother. Parents are not talking to children. How many of all the shuyukh, I can bet you, I can almost guarantee you, all of the speakers that have come to this conference, some mother, some father, some husband, some wife has come up to them and said, I've got this problem. I can't talk to my kid. He yells at me. We can't talk anymore. He's doing these things, I don't know how to stop him. My husband, my wife this, my husband this, subhanallah. This is a crisis inside the home. And what better dua to ask? The exact opposite. You know, the family has become a place of sorrow, of depression, of sadness, of anger, of rage. People feel like they want to escape it. And here Allah tells us to ask so perfectly, so eloquently, that the home should become the place of refuge. It's like the outside world is a storm. And you suffer on the outside, and your refuge, your safe haven, is those doors in your home, is your spouse, is your children. When you see them, your worries disappear. But for most of us, when you see them, your worries begin. It's the exact opposite. But I want to give you a further appreciation of just this remarkable, beautiful phrase, and how it's used in the Qur'an. I want to explain this feeling to you that Allah wants us to have with our families. There's some more elaboration of those feelings. You know, some of the strongest emotion that exists in human existence, the strongest emotion I can think of is the emotion a mother feels for her child. It is the strongest bond. Many of you in the audience are married, and when you're first married, you're obsessed with the husband, you're obsessed with the wife. You're so awesome. No, you're awesome. How perfect Allah makes the pairs. I can't believe you're my husband. I can't believe you're like all weird in the beginning. Yeah. People look at you funny. You know, the guy's got a goofy smile on his face all the time. Like, you know, the husband's name is mentioned and she gets shy. You know, 10 years go by. The husband's name is mentioned. Right? But anyway, before that happens, when you have your first child, the husbands will realize this. You're talking to your wife about something, the baby's in the other room. The husband doesn't even have the ears for this one. The baby just does a little That's it, that's all it does. And guess what happens to the mother? That conversation is over. He was in the middle of telling her how his day went, and it was a really important meeting, and where are you going? What happened? Spider sense goes berserk, and you go in the other room, and you pick up the child. Nothing comes between who? Mother and child. Nothing comes between them. It is the strongest bond. Now I'm talking to the mothers in the audience for a second. Can you imagine the state of Musa's mother's heart? She puts her baby in the water. You can't even leave your child outside in the hall. You start calling your husband, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Have you seen him? Have you seen him? Where is he at? You can't stop. You're 30 minutes late picking your child up from school. What happens to you? You know. I know, because I've been late picking up my kids from school before. So I know what my wife goes through. You didn't make it to the airport in time, right? You haven't seen your kids. You know, even mothers, they're in the home and they can't see the child. Where'd you go? Abdul Kareem, where are you? I'm in the bathroom, Mom, relax, I'm here. But there's this desperate, can you imagine her feeling? She's putting her child in what is apparently certain death, because what's behind is even more graphic. So she's in this desperate situation. And does she know what happened to the child? She does. Can you imagine not knowing what's happening to your child after you know that they're in a dangerous situation? Can you even imagine? Subhanallah. And on the other hand, I want to give you two women's scenarios. On the other hand, and I promise I'll try to finish within 5 minutes, there's another woman who's in a storm. In the same story. She's married to a really bad guy. What's his name? Oh yeah, Fir'aun. And you know, sometimes women are in a difficult domestic situation, and usually in a society like ours, you can call the domestic hotline, you can call the cops if there's abuse, whatever. Now, we don't know if there's physical abuse, but the Quran certainly indicates psychological abuse. So much so that she has to ask for rescue, right? She's in this terrible marriage, and she can't even call the cops. Well, why not? Because he owns the cops. She can't complain to the government, because he is the government. She's got nowhere to turn, so the only place she can turn is who? Allah. She's in the middle of this storm and she can't find a refuge. But when this baby washes up, you know what she says now? Think about this. She picks up the child and she says, قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي. He'll be the coolness of my eye for me. He will be my refuge from the storm. He will be my only source of joy because I'm in the middle of sadness. She's with this child, this motherless woman, this childless woman is with this child now, and all of a sudden all her problems disappear. That's her first reaction to this child. Now, one more thing. One last thing. Just about this coolness of the eyes. And why this dua is so beautiful and powerful and eloquent. You know, when a mother has lost her child, which in this case she has, and she is reunited with her child. Can you imagine the feeling of a mother whose child was lost and then she was reunited with it? Can you imagine the tears of happiness? Can you imagine that emotion? Now understand how Allah describes that emotion. Allah tells His favor to Musa alayhi salam. He says, فَرَجَعْنَاكَ إِلَىٰ أُمِّكَ كَيْ تَقَرَّ عَيْنُهَا وَلَا تَحْزَنْ. So we returned you to your mother, so her eyes could become cool. So her eyes would, Allah is describing the most amazing joy, the most amazing relief, the most indescribable feeling in the heart of a mother. And what expression does He use? The coolness of the eyes. And so we ask Allah, give us from our spouses and our children coolness of eyes. That's what we ask Allah. When somebody said, I want to get married, go further. Not just get married, I want to get married to a spouse that will cool my eyes. That I'll be the coolness of their eyes and they'll be the coolness of mine.
وَمَنْ تَابَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَإِنَّهُ يَتُوبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ مَتَابًا وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَشْهَدُونَ الزُّورَ وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِاللَّغْوِ مَرُّوا كِرَامًا والذين إذا ذكروا بآيات ربهم لم يخروا عليها صما والذين إذا ذكروا بآيات ربهم لم يخروا عليها صما وعميانا والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما أولئك يجزون الغرفة بما صبروا ويلقون فيها تحية وسلاما.